of all time when I started really loving music is Kate Bush.
Today I'm going to be talking about Kate Bush's Hounds of Love. This has always been an album that I've really enjoyed. I mean, I own it on vinyl. Just a very, very unique and fresh album, especially for the time in the 80s. And Kate Bush's style has been able to kind of remain hers throughout all these years. I would definitely define her as an auteur. She's kind of like one of the first bedroom producers because she kind of came up with her own recording style and recorded her music herself, separate from like the major studios at the time. I mean, even the label, I think, is her own label. And she's just always been really interesting, kind of has this mysterious persona, kind of witchy, but very, very just extravagant, very beautiful, very classic sounding. Her music videos are all fantastic, very ballet inspired. And the main reason I'm talking about this album now is Running Up That Hill. The single from this has now entered the Billboard Top 10 again at number 8 because of its being featured on Stranger Things, which is really cool. I'm glad to see classic music coming back and being appreciated by the younger generations. This has been a very influential and very special album. So because young people are paying attention to it, I just wanted to highlight the whole thing, not just Running Up That Hill, even though that is a fantastic song. The first modern resurgence of this is they used Running Up That Hill in that Pose episode with to show the meeting between, I can't remember the characters' names, but it was used in Pose, and that was a pretty good show about like the New York ballroom culture of the like trans community at the time. That's a pretty good, interesting show. So I would say that's the first time I heard it outside of like listening to the vinyl and pop culture recently. But Stranger Things is a much bigger show, so I can understand that having a larger impact on it coming back into the charts. So, and another mention I've heard of Kate Bush recently was Big Boy, when he talked about Running Up That Hill being one of his favorite songs. And it was on a hip-hop show where they normally choose other rap songs, so it's really interesting that Big Boy even, the second half of the duo Outkast, chose Kate Bush as kind of his biggest influence. He said he used to like to listen to Kate Bush while he rode his bike, and that he would just imagine her like playing the piano in some castle with like these large drapes like flying in the wind. And that was a pretty good image. That's kind of how I think of her too. Running Up That Hill is a just super up-tempo song. It has kind of like these Shaka Khan 80s drums and this weird like distorted chord that is just like building up, and then her vocal delivery is incredible. She does these long like flourishes, and it's a song about trading places between her and her partner, making a deal with God so that she can live in a man's body and the man can live in her body, and they can experience love making from a different perspective, which is a pretty interesting concept, especially for the time. She's kind of taken on hegemony, the like perceived cultural norms, and that was really revolutionary for the time. And it's just very fresh sounding. Her sound is definitely hers. When I hear Kate Bush, I know that's a Kate Bush song. And this album just really builds. It has such energy, and despite it having this alternative theme, it just comes across so accessible. And this is the song that's been featured in a lot of things, and I understand it's a great intro to this album. And if you like that song, I would recommend checking out the whole album, because the whole thing kind of carries like that. Into the second song, Hounds of Love, and this is about her suitors, calling them like the Hounds of Love, but she doesn't have time for all these hounds chasing after her because she has bigger things on the horizon, bigger things than just being a partner. And then we go into Big Sky, and this just shows like she's very influential to dream pop. She's almost forged that genre herself. And it's like her singing in this Enya-style choir while she's talking about having broad horizons. And I think this is to her kind of being open to dating in a way of like, she doesn't want anything to hinder her personal career. Then we go into Mother Stands for Comfort. And this is just like another ballad-oriented dream pop song. It just continues with her auteur unique style. Then we go into Cloud Busting, another highlight on the album. This is like a epic fantasy song with like these sweeping violins. And she's kind of talking about clearing up opportunities and making sure she's living with a clear sky. Kind of taking account of her mental health and making sure that she's moving forward in this dream that she's created for herself. And Dream of Sheep, which is this kind of like lullaby song about going to sleep. And then Under Ice, I assume, is like her dreaming. She's truly an auteur with this unique vocal approach, really unique vocal mixing. Then we go into Waking the Witch, and it has this great Foley, this great contextualization about finally waking her up. Like she went to sleep, she dreamed, and now she's like, someone's waking the witch. A lot of people trying to wake her up, and then when she comes in and starts singing, her mixing again is very experimental on this song. So I like this one as well, very abstract. It feels, her use of filters are very unique. And then Watching You Without Me, I think this is a song about like letting people move on and watching them from a distance. It has this like great xylophone sound in it. Jig of Life is a violin Irish jig, and it's pretty interesting. Not my favorite, but another just like different kind of song on this album. Then we go to Hello Earth, and it's about like coming to Earth from space. She has these like, she's really good at like these long drawn out like vocal deliveries. It's not like, it doesn't feel slow, it just feels like epic and stretched out. And then we go into Morning Fog, which is another well produced track for the outro. And she just has this wistful epic feeling of like 80s fantasy movies, like before they really became blockbusters. Just this great witchy feel. Definitely like Kate Bush. And if you're coming to my channel because you're looking up Running Up That Hill because of Stranger Things, I review a lot of interesting albums, so if you like different music with unique perspectives, definitely check out my other vinyl reviews because I have a lot of great albums that I'm highlighting.